Tell me about Malia.
Malia, she was friendly and a beautiful little girl.
As stunning details emerge in the case of missing 4-year-old Maleah Davis, volunteers are using every minute to find her.
Brittany, I know this has been a tough time. Your dad passed away last month. Now your daughter is missing.
How are you feeling?
It doesn't look good. They've come up with nothing. Have you accepted the possibility that Malia is no longer alive? Have you accepted the possibility?
February 6th, 2015. The world would make way for Maleah Davis. Bringing Malia into this world wouldn't be easy. She would have some complications. She would be born through a C-section. But if that wasn't enough, the mother would detail being alone. As she sat through labor and bared the pain, she would have no one by her side. Although a support system was non-existent, her child was enough. She said she always wanted a daughter, so giving birth to one was enough to fill the void. Malia would be brought into this world by her father, Craig Davis, and her mother, Brittany Bowens. Sadly, the birth of Malia wouldn't bring Brittany and Craig closer. It would drive them further apart, and they would eventually separate. For now, they co-parent, and with a child, they learn to coexist. When Malia was around 1 year old, her mother would meet someone that she would take seriously. He was a guy that seemed well-rounded. He was a postal worker, and from the looks of it, he seemed to be ready to fill the role as a stepfather. His name was Darian Vince. So, time begins to pass. Brittany and Darian decide to move in together. They would also come to find that Brittany was once again pregnant, and they were about to welcome a child of their own. By the year of 2019, they were a complete family. Maleah Davis would turn 4 this year, and she was elated to be a big sister. She's described as someone with a huge smile, someone with a loving spirit, and an infectious personality.
Malia.
Like most young girls, Malia enjoyed music. She liked to sing and dance. One of her favorite songs to sing was Baby Shark. Her favorite cartoon, My Little Pony. And her favorite color was pink. Malia enjoyed anything that was girly. One of her favorite hobbies was spending time with her brothers and posing for the camera. She was your normal little girl, someone who enjoyed spreading love and laughter wherever she went. At the beautiful age of 4, she was in her magical years, the years when everything is carefree. Like any 4-year-old, she was looking forward to 5 and starting kindergarten. But sadly, she would never make it to that year. An event would occur that no one saw coming. Maleah Davis would go missing, and upon her disappearance would come the opening of Pandora's box. April 30th, 2019. On this day, Maleah's mother, Brittany Bowens, would fly to Massachusetts. The reason for her visit is because her father had passed. So, she makes preparations and she goes to his funeral. But when she goes to the funeral, she decides to leave her children back home. Her oldest son would go to stay with family, while Malia and her younger brother would stay with Darian. Brittany would stay in Massachusetts for a few days before catching a flight back home to Houston, Texas. Now, when she arrives at the airport, she's awaiting the arrival of her fiance, Darian. He's supposed to pick her up, but after a couple of hours, she realizes that he's a no-show. After repeated calls to Darian went unanswered, she would finally decide to call a family member. So, they come and pick her up. But when Brittany Bowens arrives at their apartment, it's empty. She knocks on the door several times and tries calling Darian once again, to no avail. At the time, there was only 2 keys to gain entry into the home. One spare key that was located inside of the apartment, and another key that was on the key ring of the vehicle that they shared together. At this point, she has no way into the home. Tired and restless, Brittany Bowens would return home with her mother and decide to try again the next day. But by the next day, Darian still wasn't answering the phone. She begins to panic. She even calls the authorities and reports Darian, Malia, and her infant son missing. With a report now filed, the authorities would get to work. But it wouldn't be long before they located Darian. He would turn up at a hospital located in Sugar Land, Texas. The authorities go and meet him at this hospital. And when they get there, they see Darian. And they also see their infant son. But Malia is nowhere to be found. So naturally, he's questioned about Malia's whereabouts. And he provides a story. He says that the day prior to arriving at the hospital, he was driving his vehicle, accompanied by Malia and his young son. He says that they were on the way to pick up Brittany from the airport. While en route to the airport, he says he briefly pulled over to check on the tires. While doing his inspection, he says a truck pulled up behind them, and out of this truck comes 3 Mexican men. He says with no explanation offered, they immediately begin to attack him. During the altercation, he passes out, and he doesn't regain consciousness until the next day. He says that when he's awakened, his infant son is right there beside him. But 2 things were obviously missing: his vehicle and his stepdaughter, Maleah Davis. He would go on to tell the officers that while being attacked, he sustained a head injury. So, when he regained consciousness, he grabbed his son and he walked to the hospital. His interview would go on into the late night hours of May 4th of 2019, and by May 5th, an Amber Alert would be issued for Malia. May 5th would come to a close, and they were no closer to finding Malia. But by May 6th, word had spread. The Texas EquiSearch was now involved, and they were actively looking for Malia. They would search the area in which Darian said he was attacked. But while surveilling the area, they found nothing. 0 clues, but something else was brewing. A storm was rolling in. Rainwater would not only hinder the dog's process in finding the missing person, but it also stands a chance to wash away evidence. May 7th, the rain comes down, and it doesn't stop. In fact, it floods the search area. Luckily, Texas EquiSearch had more resources, so instead of searching the ground, they would take to the air. While the Texas EquiSearch team is doing aerial surveillance, the police are hard at work to release new information to the public. They would release photos of the car that Darian was driving on the day that Malia went missing. Releasing the photos would do the trick, because on May 9th of 2019, the silver Nissan Altima would be located in a parking lot in Missouri City, Texas. So the detectives working the case go down to this spot where the vehicle is located, and when they get there, something immediately stands out. Upon their inspection of the tires, nothing seemed to be wrong, which is a direct contradiction to what Darian told them. The scene where the car was located would be taped off and processed for evidence. They would even bring in the K9 unit, and one of the cadaver dogs would hit on the trunk. It's never a good thing when a cadaver dog picks up a scent, because it usually means something happened. But there's always a chance that the dog had a false positive, and with that, it leaves room for hope. Hope that 4-year-old Maleah Davis would be returned home safely. The city is on high alert, and everyone is searching.
A mother's desperate plea asking anyone who might have seen Maleah Davis to please come forward.
Tuesday morning, search crews were busy splitting into teams, some on foot, others using ATVs. Their objective, 2 things: finding Malia and her stepdad's car, which he told police got stolen the night she was reportedly abducted. Despite the difficult task up ahead, search members say,
What we do know is this little girl is not where she wants to be.
so they won't give up until little Malia is found.
May 10th, 2019. By this date, Brittany Bowens had obtained counsel, not a lawyer, but it was Quanell X, a community activist. Together, they would release a series of statements. The statements released would cause a shift in the case. Brittany Bowens would take to the media to release her side of the story. She says that yes, she went out of town for a funeral, but before going out of town, she broke up with Darian. The reason for the breakup? Well, she went through his phone, and inside of his phone, she saw that he was sending pictures to another guy. I'm not gonna go into what the pictures were. Use your imagination. I'm sure you can figure it out. Brittany, at that point, is upset, and she confronts him about these photos that he's been sending. So, they break up. Which brings us to the next question. Why release this information now? Why is it relevant? Well, earlier that day, the media had got their hands on some surveillance photos. These photos were captured by a camera from one of their neighbor's residence. The surveillance footage shows 4-year-old Maleah Davis walking behind Darian Vince. They're actively walking to their apartment. Maleah Davis goes inside. A short time later, Darian Vince is captured leaving, carrying a laundry basket with a black bag inside of it. He's accompanied by his little son. Guess who's not in the footage leaving? Maleah Davis. But that's not it. That same day, the authorities had obtained footage from the hospital. Darian Vince says that after he was attacked, he walked to the hospital when it was a lie. The surveillance shows him being dropped off inside of a vehicle. With everything combined, the authorities had reason to believe that Malia was no longer here. They were no longer searching to bring her home safely, but searching for her remains. That same day, on May 11th of 2019, Darian Vince would be arrested. He was being charged with tampering with evidence. But there's a problem. The guy that they believe holds the key to finding Malia is no longer cooperating with authorities. He shuts down and doesn't say another word. But although he's locked up, there's still an elephant in the room. Malia is still missing, and finding her is a race against time.
My name is Brittany Bowens. And it's spelled Brittany. My last name is Bowens, Bowens. I'm Malia's mother. This is the flyers that we're passing out right now down here in City Hall in Sugar Land. I just want to find Malia. I just want to find Malia. And I love her so much. I love her so much. If there's anybody that can help me, please. Please. I just want to find my baby. I just want to find her. Help me find her, please. Help me find her. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't. I'm overwhelmed.
May 21st, 2019. Another shift in the case. Someone else is placed in the spotlight. Brittany Bowens, the mother of Maleah Davis. Both the media and the public had gotten a hold of some unsavory news. Turns out that the happy home that Brittany Bowens was portraying was far from it. In fact, in August of 2018, Malia, her older brother, and her younger brother were removed from the home. It was around this time that Maleah Davis would have to be taken to the hospital for having a seizure, as well as receiving brain surgery. Allegations were made, an investigation was conducted, and they were returned to the home in February of 2019. By the time that story came to the light on May 21st of 2019, even Brittany Bowen's family had made some accusations, basically saying that they were both unfit.
She found herself in the midst of a mob with people screaming at her, calling her guilty in her 4-year-old daughter's disappearance.
I mean, and everything was just overwhelming. I've never had to ever deal with those kind of things. I mean, you see things like that on TV.
But this is real life. Brittany Bowens is really waking up every day without her baby girl, really attempting to sleep at night while Malia is missing and has been for nearly 2 weeks. Bowens has lived under a cloud of suspicion since her daughter disappeared. So did she have a hand in whatever happened to Malia?
It is. It's absurd to me that somebody would think that I would have something to do with that.
About a week later, on May 28th, Quanell X resigns from being her counsel. He even tells the media that in private, Bowens was a completely different person. He said that the emotional mother you saw on the camera was not who he saw behind the scenes. He would go on to say that he believes that Brittany Bowens knows exactly what happened to Malia. He says he doesn't believe she knows where she's at, but as far as what happened to her, she was filled in. A few days later, on May 31st of 2019, Quanell X says that Darian Vince confessed to him that Malia was no longer here.
All I can say to you is that he told me it was an accident and that she is dead and where he dumped her body.
And where's that?
It's in Arkansas. Yes.
Turns out that Quanell X was right, because the same day that Darian made this confession, they found remains in Arkansas. At the time, some landscapers were mowing some grass when one of the landscapers would run over the edge of a black bag. When he does, the bag ruptures, and when it does, the landscaper sees a pink beret.
We have confirmed that we did find human remains on the side of the interstate here, just down past the, you see those scanning stations there, it's just down past there. We did find some clothing and some other articles that leads us to believe that it is human remains. At about 11:30 today, we received information that the child's stepfather had confided in someone, so we immediately sent deputies out to the exit 30 area of Hope. Today, the mowers came through this morning and apparently hit the garbage bag, which burst open, creating a foul odor. And that's what leads us to this point right now, that we're down there. Our investigators from Company C State Police are down there right now trying to map the area digitally and get exactly where everything was found.
That night, the body is flown back to Houston, Texas. They were sure that the victim that they had found was Maleah Davis. She would, in fact, be positively identified on June 3rd of 2019. An autopsy would be conducted, and they would come to the conclusion that she passed away due to homicidal violence. They weren't able to figure out exactly what happened, but they were sure of one thing, that blunt force trauma was at play, as well as the airway being restricted by an unknown object. In the beginning, Darian Vince would plead not guilty to the charges. He said he was innocent, that the prosecution has it wrong. But then someone comes forward, an inmate, that says that Darian Vince told him exactly what happened. The inmate says that he questioned Darian about Malia, and his first initial response was saying that Malia passed away in her sleep due to the flu. The inmate says that he confronts him about this statement. He says no one's gonna believe that. We see her in the photos of the surveillance tape walking behind you. She wasn't sick. He goes on to say that after challenging that statement, Darian changes his story. He says that they were in the home and little Malia came to sit in his lap. He got upset and he tossed her off of his lap. He says at that moment, Malia hit her head on the ground, and that's what happened. So he goes on to ask him, if that's what happened, then why did you hide her? Darian tells the inmate that he panicked and drove her to Arkansas. He couldn't think of anything else to do. Darian even tells this inmate exactly where he put her. Well, this inmate writes a letter to the authorities, and he says he told the authorities where Malia was. He says that soon after he wrote this letter, Quanell X popped up on the news saying that Darian had confessed when it wasn't true. He says that he believes that the authorities told Quanell X where Malia was and had him make a statement in order to prevent the inmate from receiving the reward money, which was now at a whopping $20,000. Judging by the evidence, it doesn't really matter what the inmate said, because it doesn't match the autopsy results. That isn't what happened. At that point, everyone was waiting to go to court in order to hear the evidence. But when they get back to court, Darian changes his mind. He decides to show up and plead guilty. Along with pleading guilty, the story is buried. He never admits exactly what happened. He only admits fault. Quanell X does allege that he confessed to him exactly what he did. He says Darian told him that he got physical, and when he did, she had a seizure. And instead of calling for help, he decided to asphyxiate her. For his role in this incident, he would receive 40 years behind bars. That's it. 40 years. He's currently serving his sentence in prison. But one thing remains: the story of what truly happened to Maleah Davis. As far as a motive, one was never offered besides the fact that Brittany broke up with him, at least by the prosecution, because the public and Quanell X had uncovered some other things that suggest something else might have been going on. Surveillance tape would show that on previous days, Darian Vince was supposed to be taking Maleah to daycare, but he wasn't. He was pretending to take her to daycare and then bringing her right back home. And there she would sit with him all day long. He would even go back out and pretend to pick her up. That situation is kind of self-explanatory. I think we all know what was going on, but due to lack of evidence, I won't state it. The case of 4-year-old Maleah Davis will forever be shrouded in mystery. That is, until Darian decides to tell the real story. What truly went on in that household? Did Brittany Bowens really know more than she led the public to believe? Did Darian Vince really confess to Quanell X? Or was the inmate telling the truth, that he was told that information by the authorities in order to withhold the reward? Questions that need to be answered. But like they say, everything done in the dark eventually comes to the light. And I'm hoping that's the case here. Rest in peace, Maleah Davis. Thank you for being a light for others. I truly hope your story is one day fully told.